Antiviral from inception to short film to full feature?
It was 2004. I started film school at Ryerson, and I thought I needed a feature film idea that I should start working on from the start, so that I came out of the school with something to work on. And so I was incredibly sick one day. I had this flu, and I was obsessing over the physical illness that I had, the physicality of it, and the fact that I had something in my cells and in my body that had come from someone else's body. And there seemed to be a sort of weird intimacy to that connection at the time. And then afterwards, I tried to think of a character who might see disease that way. And I thought of a celebrity-obsessed fan who might want, Angelina Jolie's cold or something, to be able to feel closer to her. And then it kind of, from there, it seemed like an interesting metaphor for discussing celebrity. So I started writing it, and then 4 years later, end of film school, at Ryerson, you sort of make a senior year film, and it's a short film that you spend the year working on. Kevin Krixt from Rhombus, he was a classmate of mine in Ryerson, and he went on to be an associate producer at Rhombus. And he had seen the short at the Ryerson Film Festival, and so he put me in touch with Neve Fitchman, who was doing this series of first-time features. This was Hobo with a Shotgun being the first, and then The Boy Who Smells Like Fish, which I don't believe is out yet. And so they had this existing program. He wanted to support new filmmakers and work in particular with young Canadian filmmakers.
Mm-hmm. This was a really interesting subject for me because it's something that isn't explored a lot in film, but we are a celebrity-obsessed society. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about having that commentary on our society. Are we there yet? Are we that dystopian celebrity-obsessed society? Did you just expand on that, or are we close to it?
I think we're pretty much there. It's not, I mean, it's meant to be satirical, obviously, and it's a kind of cultural caricature, but it's only a very slight exaggeration. I mean, I could see somebody wanting to get sick to be close to someone, and there are a few stories that I've heard. I saw a clip of Sarah Michelle Gellar on the Jimmy Kimmel show where she said, she was worried about getting the audience sick because she had a cold, and then everyone started cheering, and they were like excited to. Yeah, that happened like as we were making the film. There are sort of instances already there in a way, and so it's just to make that the norm is only a slight exaggeration.
This was an interesting way to tell the story because we're put into a different society or a different version of the way the world is. And we're attached to Sid, but you created a very unsympathetic character, somebody whose mind we weren't in. We were following him, we were attached to him, but we didn't know his inner workings. Did you do that very purposefully?
Yeah, well, I mean, I liked the idea of having a character who seemed removed from that culture, who could see himself as being detached from it and could see himself as being above it, but who is actually very defined by it and is in a sense a product of his environment, as we all are, as we're all defined by our own cultures. So having him be this kind of detached, cold character was part of the satire and part of the to discuss how in a way inescapable that stuff is, because it's true. I mean, you can't help but be affected by it to a certain degree, even if you're critical of it, even if you feel completely removed from it. It's still a part of the culture and the cultural landscape that we're living in.
The look of the film was gorgeous. It was really well lit. Caleb Landry Jones almost looked a little bit alien-like. There was a lot of like whites and reds, and I wanted to I mean, obviously you were a very visual person. That was something that you created very strongly. Caitlin's picture of Hannah Geist, very particular in that. So tell me a little bit about creating the look of the film.
I like the idea of this very clinical white setting and contrasting it with some dirtier other sets, partly because I guess in some ways it was reflecting this idea that you have celebrities as these almost disembodied theoretical people, these cultural constructs, or these fictional characters who are removed from the human being and from the meat, the animal. And so in some settings it's very clinical, it's very white, and they sort of exist purely as idealized versions, and then when you get beneath it, it becomes partly about the human being behind that, and the disconnect between the celebrity as a almost media construction and the human being